Not the Foxy Brown, the rapper from the 90s, possibly having a connection to the Tupac murder. 2024 has been wilding, son. Wilding, son. All right, you white motherfuckers, all eyes on me. This is the I Refuse podcast. This is Mr. Foxy I Refuse podcast. Hope you didn't think I was going to be gone for a long time. Hope you didn't think the I Refuse podcast was dead and gone. Because, baby, I had to take a little bit of a breather, but we're back. We're back. So, thank you for joining us. I'm Mr. Foxy I Refuse podcast. Nice to meet you. This is me giving you a handshake. Come on in. Come on in. You know, thank you for joining the YouTube channel if you haven't already. If you have not, please do. All the follows, all the subscribers that are sitting and waiting and foaming at the mouth. Thank you for hanging in there with us. We embrace more subscribers, more lovers of fresh content by people of color. Happy Pride Month, by the way. It's been a while. I thought I was going to be back talking about the dream, but I cannot find the filing. Shout out to I'm Not a Lawyer But YouTube channel for giving us the tea here and there. I don't know how she got it, but this is wild to me. So when I say Foxy Brown, right? We are talking about, first of all, we here, Mr. Foxy I Refuse podcast, are Foxy Brown stans. She's not discussed enough for her contributions, for her catalog, for what she has done. Because unfortunately, the dark cloud, I guess, is the controversy, her throwing the phone at the nail tech, and her hearing problem, and it possibly being tied to an untreated STI allegedly. Y'all are not discussing her in the same vein that y'all are discussing Lil' Kim, or her and Lil' Kim opening the door for what we have now. But that's not why we're here. That's not why we're here. So apparently, we want to take a break from talking about surviving Diddy, which is not going away anytime soon, to talk about the next chapter in the Tupac murder. So currently, the Clark County prosecutors, which I believe is out of Los Angeles, are looking at Foxy Brown, street name Inga Merchant, to be a witness, or at the very least cooperate with the prosecutor's office in their trial or case against Keefe D. So Keefe D, an active gang member out of California, had been making the rounds the last couple of years, just talking to just about any platform that will have him on, that has a YouTube channel, just talking about his involvement in the Tupac murder. Also, on top of that, he did a memoir, this Keefe D guy. And in the memoir, he details that it was him, he was in the car with the perpetrator that shot Tupac. and that he was the one that handed the gun to the perpetrator, who, in his own words, allegedly was his nephew, Orlando Anderson, who himself was killed not too long after Tupac died in an unrelated situation. So, even with this having been a mystery as to who is responsible for almost 30 years, right? Up until about maybe 5 or so years ago, the crosshairs was on Orlando Anderson. But they couldn't get to Orlando Anderson because Orlando Anderson was shot and killed, like I said earlier, just a bit ago. So it was like, okay, for whatever reason, I guess there was renewed interest in finding out who killed Tupac. And this, I'm talking like years ago. Who killed Tupac? Who killed Biggie? So in the light of the stuff that's coming out about Diddy the past year or so, part of the renewed interest was that allegedly Diddy was behind both the murder of Biggie and the murder of Tupac. I myself was curious a few years ago. I did TikTok about it. How is it possible that between two vehicles, a person pulls up directly next to the one that Biggie's in, alongside the side of the vehicle, the passenger side that he's on, shoots the car up, and only Biggie gets hit. Same thing with Tupac. Both of these men died. Everybody else that was in the car at the time in those individual incidences lived to see another day. But also, in Biggie's case, when I looked at, I think it was Gene Deal's interview with, I think, Vlad or Comedy Hype, one of those channels, he gives more context. Two vehicles. Puffy's not in the vehicle with Biggie. Puffy's in the second vehicle with the security. And after Biggie gets shot, see, nobody thought to question, why is it that the vehicle that Puffy's in runs the red light, leaving the vehicle that Biggie's in at the light, and just as soon as that happens, a car pulls up on the passenger side of the vehicle that Biggie's in, and starts shooting. That's always bothered me since middle school. Same thing with Tupac's situation. I've been to Vegas. I've seen the footage of Tupac and Suge Knight and I guess their crew. Tupac is in the front, like kind of walking aggressively in his Las Vegas blouse. Just on a mission to find this guy who turned out to be Orlando Anderson, they were saying. And then after they stomp him out, Suge Knight and Tupac get in the car and they go off. Now, how it's possible that not too long after that happens, the same thing happens to Tupac that happens to Biggie. Tupac and Suge Knight are at the red light. Tupac is standing through the sunroof trying to holler at some ladies, they said. Because they've recounted this like for many, many years. And as half of his body is out the sunroof, car pulls up. And even with the gunfire, Tupac takes the brunt of the gunfire. And that was roughly, 45 minutes, an hour's time? I'm just saying, if I got beat down by Tupac or beat down by somebody, that's one hell of a turnaround. From getting up off the floor, following somebody, catching up to them, getting people or whatever, and gunning them down at the red light. But here's the thing. You are probably wondering, what's Foxy Brown's connection to all this? This wasn't on my bingo card for 2024. This wasn't on my bingo card for my life up until this point. So, in the last couple years, the prosecutors, Clark County, informants have been telling them for a while now that Foxy Brown was in Las Vegas, around Keefe D's peoples, mere hours before Tupac was gunned down and killed. Rye whiskey. And they want to know what she can recollect, what was said, and what all was discussed. I don't think they'll go as far as to charge her with murder because that would be a reach. But I wouldn't put it past the government at this point, because while you may not be facing an active murder charge, if you do not cooperate, you could possibly be facing a conspiracy charge, conspiracy to murder. Now, in Keefe D's case, part of the renewed interest, like, things could have stayed low-key, people could have continued to be disinterested, had it not been for him talking and having diarrhea of the mouth across several YouTube channels just talking about this Tupac thing. And then to do a memoir where you say, not only was I there, I was in the car next to the person that shot Tupac. The person that shot Tupac is my nephew. He used the gun, Orlando Anderson, my nephew, used the gun that I handed him. And then by September 2023, when the authorities come bamming on your door because they have more than enough, beyond a shadow of a reasonable doubt, to arrest you, you're like, oh, I fabricated the whole thing for financial gain. It's a little too late. It's a little too late. Because at this point, you still have witnesses. You don't have Orlando Anderson anymore because he got killed. But you do have other people in the car, particularly the person that drove the car. You have Suge Knight, who is in jail for running over somebody, which was such a lame and corny ass way to go out in life. Like, I don't think he's getting out anytime soon. But you have other people. But on top of that, Keefe D is claiming that all of this came about allegedly because of an offer Diddy made to X out or unalive Tupac and Suge Knight. So this may be another chapter in Surviving Diddy, because another theory, you and I have talked about it amongst our friends, is that maybe it's most likely that Diddy had a hand behind both murders. More of the heat, or more of the conversation, is around clearly the closest connection to Diddy at the time, which was Biggie. And allegedly the theory was Biggie was planning to separate from Diddy and Bad Boy. I don't know how that was going to be possible after recording 2 albums. Because Biggie was miserable, Biggie wasn't feeling it anymore, but it's like, in my mind, with all we know as to how Diddy has his contracts or how he's done his other artists, I don't think Biggie was any different in that regard. I honestly think his contract with Biggie was the same with anybody else's. He just happened to be the flagship artist. And the contract, I'm surmising, was one that benefited Diddy more. Because anything you write for Bad Boy at the time is he has full ownership of masters, recordings, royalties, so on and so forth. And you're just a dude from New York City who signed a contract in the corner of some diner like Mace did in 1992, 1993? Just taking full advantage of the naivete. And maybe Diddy was aware of it and was like, the only way you leaving up out of here is in a casket. So this is the degree, one of several, that connects Diddy to this. However, I did not see this coming as far as Foxy Brown. You know, with rap the way that it is, and, you know, for many, many years, Foxy Brown has been this close to a rejuvenation, a renaissance of some sorts. You know, Lil' Kim tried a little something with a mixtape, and then putting out that album 9, which was not her 9th album. But current music, right? Last we heard from Foxy Brown was on Nicki Minaj's album from 2018. Wasn't a whole lot we were hearing about Foxy Brown beyond that. There's some word on the curb that she may have some tea on Sean Carter. And for many, many months since Diddy has been exposed, word on the curb is allegedly Jay-Z is next. And since that, I've been looking at Foxy Brown like, if there's anybody that should be talking, anybody that should be on these platforms talking, besides Jaguar Wright, it's Foxy Brown. But Foxy Brown, being a Virgo like me, very, very loyal to the people that helped her out. So I don't think it'll be a reach to get her out the house, out of her Brooklyn walk-up, her Brooklyn brownstone, to talk about Jay-Z on any platform. And in general, the kids today don't see it for Foxy Brown. We at the RFU's podcast still do. So for this is interesting. Another reason why this is interesting is that Foxy Brown will have no other choice but to cooperate. It's a dangerous game because you're going against an active gang member, and on top of that, you have some health issues. 1996 was almost 30 years ago. You're in a different part of your life right now. What's she gonna do? What does Foxy Brown want to do? And knowing Clark County, which I believe is the same county that LA falls under, they could possibly back her into a corner. Like, look, either you cooperate with us to the best of your ability, or you could be facing charges too. And she will talk. Because while conspiracy to murder is not the same as murder, you're not going to walk away with probation. Like, they could pull something similar to what authorities did in the Lincoln assassination, where you thought it was just John Wilkes Booth, but it was actually like the people at the boarding place where he was for like one night, and like more people got hung. Like, they did hangings back then. I wouldn't say that they would do that last part, but Foxy Brown could be back into a corner. So it begs the question, is Foxy Brown part of the street code? We know Lil' Kim is. Like, she'll go to jail for not snitching or jail for perjury. But what will Foxy Brown do? No, like, what would Jesus do? What would Foxy Brown do? That's the question of the summer. That's the question of the summer. Like, a lot of us remember where we were September 8th, 1996. Foxy Brown is going to have to dig real deep to remember her evening of September 7th, 1996. Like, why were you in Vegas? What's your relationship with Keefe D? Why were you with Keefe D's people? Like, you're a rapper from Brooklyn. He's an active LA gang member. And he is in print admitting that he was in the car with the person that shot Tupac. Not only that, handed the shooter the gun. And the shooter was his nephew, Orlando Anderson, who's not here to speak. Like, when I woke up today, I was not expecting that. I don't know if it's going to be the turning point, because what exactly has Foxy Brown been up to these days? She has a daughter. She probably has shows here and there, but pretty quiet. Hasn't been in the news for anything lately. more than likely has grown up, took a step away from the rap game. Very, very curious. I mean, there was a small part of me that Foxy Brown's renaissance, A, would have happened sooner, and B, would not have been, this wouldn't have been the launching point. Um, I wouldn't say that the trial of Keefe D would be the trial of the century. I mean, you can murder thousands of people. It would never be the level of the OJ trial. Um, but if there is an option to live stream it, I'll be in the front row. I'll be at this desk right here watching it. Because it's not lost on me that all of this is conjecture. If you don't know what that word means, Google it. All of this is conjecture, hearsay. I have yet to read or anything about physical evidence tying Keefe D directly to the death of Tupac. Orlando Anderson is dead. And there is definitely a high level of G code, street code, you know, snitches get stitches, and anybody that is found out to be an informant, anybody that is even alleged to have like snitched or told or cooperated with the authorities gets X'd out. Like, that's still very much a thing. I am not speaking that into existence for Foxy Brown because, like I said, we here at the RFU's podcast love Foxy Brown. I put a playlist together a couple weeks ago. It just takes me back, man. Y'all are not discussing enough about the Broken Silence album. Y'all are not putting in enough streaming numbers for the Firm album. And that makes me sick. My hope is that she cooperates. She really rubs her temple and does some kind of Jean Grey level type shit and be like, oh, September the 6th, 1996. September 7th, 1996. Oh, I was in Vegas. When they do stream this trial, I really would like to know their connection because it's two separate coasts. Like, why is Foxy Brown hanging out with gang members? And could it be possible that she unwillingly went out there because Diddy told her to go? See, the other thing that's coming out about Diddy by way of Mr. Bond, who Vlad has interviewed, is that, you know, Diddy allegedly has a way of coercing or through his intense charismatic personality just set up like a ruse of some kind to get people to travel a particular place. So they can unwillingly play a part in what he wants to go down. Mr. Bond, who part of his interview at over there on DJ Vlad's channel was that, and they talked about Cassie, of course. That's the main course. Is that on the path to their relationship? I'm putting that in air quotes because of everything that's come out about Diddy, courtesy of Cassie. When Cassie was with Ryan Leslie, his fine ass, Diddy set up a ruse to Cassie to get her to go to Miami for an event that actually wasn't true, to get her away from Brian Leslie for money. And then that set up the building blocks for their relationship. And bam, now they're together. But also, here's the other thing about that. Also, while she was signed to the label and like recording music and stuff, allegedly Diddy was behind the scenes blocking songs from getting out, or her material, her album getting out. Hence why we never got a second album, more songs. I was just like, see, there's too much going on. So many parallels and similarities between men of power and women, artists, proteges that are being blocked. But anyway, that's another theory I just came up with. What if possibly Diddy was behind getting Foxy Brown out there? But then again, it's like, why? Because I don't think he did productions on No Nana or China Doll. But you just never know. You know, associations and co-workers. Next thing you know, you're out in Vegas with gang members. Like, what was that? What's the connection there? Like, I feel like it's Diddy, or could it be Sean Carter, allegedly? Personally, I did not want this for Foxy Brown. Like, if Foxy Brown is to be in the news, it would be for, oh, she's coming back to do rap music. Which the hearing loss thing has kind of put an end to her recording career. But it's like, she can't be part of like a cipher, like a hip-hop cipher, or, you know, do a couple of her songs at some of the award shows, to just be like, oh, you know, there are other rappers that existed besides Lil' Kim. No disrespect to Lil' Kim. And I've gotten into arguments with people on the Bird app when it comes to, I stand 10 toes down with the opinion that when it comes to Lil' Kim's contemporary, like a person that can go toe-to-toe with her if she was to ever do a versus battle, not Nicki Minaj. It would be Foxy Brown. Like, if we want to do a versus battle or any kind of battle, it would be somebody from that same era. Because anybody beyond that, or, you know, coming in through the door and you want to do a versus battle with, It's very much trying to cling to some sort of relevancy. But I didn't want this for Foxy Brown. Because this is pretty serious. You know, you are looking at the feds, federal government. You're looking at judges, prosecutors, the state. I'll be very, very careful, Inga. Like, you are literally between a rock and a hard place. An active gang member being a hard place, who most likely has ties to this day to gang members in California, in Clark County, who could charge you with something if you do not cooperate. Besides surviving Diddy, we'll be keeping track of this, because I was not expecting this waking up today. But trust and believe, the I Refuse podcast on YouTube channel is back, and we're not going anywhere. Switch my regimen up at the gym. I am entering my bodybuilder era. So, be on the lookout for the gun show coming to. My neck disappeared. Coming to a theater near you. Before I get up out of here, the latest Bad Boys movie is on track to make over $50 million domestically from the weekend, and over $100 million internationally. Nobody in this African American household ever canceled Will Smith. That was never going to happen. I love the media rollout. No, Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have been doing the damn thing. I too was concerned about how Martin Lawrence was moving about out here. And I know Martin Lawrence has said, you know, I'm healthy, I'm fine. But I don't think he's ever really recovered from that heat stroke back in the 90s. And I know that he recently lost his brother. So I'm wishing the best for him. I will be checking out Bad Boys, although I miss Teresa Randall as the wife of Marcus. She's not doing too well. But yeah, like, that slap, we ain't going to cancel Will Smith over that. It was the white people that were upset. We've tolerated Chris Rock, you know, using low-hanging fruit as part of his comedy routine. But I'm gonna keep tabs on, you know, this Keefe D, Tupac murder trial, Foxy Brown involvement thing. Could it possibly be surviving Keefe D on the I Refuse podcast YouTube channel? Who knows? But until then, I'm Mr. Fox, the I Refuse podcast. Be sure to check out all things I Refuse podcast wherever you get your podcasts, and your YouTube video content. We're everywhere. Also check out the Usual Suspects podcast with my co-host, the Abstract Sagittarius, and the I Refuse podcast After Dark if you feel so ever inclined. Until then, we will catch you guys later. And yeah, the I Refuse podcast YouTube channel is alive and kicking. I Refuse podcast as a whole is still around. We have a new episode dropping tonight at midnight on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and the 6 other streaming platforms. You can literally go to Google or Bing or Yahoo.com, put in I Refuse podcast in the search, press enter, and bam. That'll be us. You should see my face. If not, it'll be an image of a heart-shaped sticker that says, "Do not talk to the cops." It's still us. It'll be a whole different look for season 6, which drops in September. We're still in season 5. Just to give you a little background information. So this is Mr. Foxy Fuse podcast. Hope you've enjoyed this content. Hope you continue to enjoy the content. Happy Pride Month to my faggots out there, and faggots too. You know, can't leave out the light in the loafers brunch. The Alphabet Mafia bunch. We see you. We'll make sure everybody's well represented. And we will catch you guys later. Peace. Fendi, like the bag. This is the I refuse.